I'm Ken Beattie, and I'm a writer. I've been traveling the world looking for relationships between people and plants. We all know how important plants are to our lives. They give us food, shelter, clothing, and medicines. In ancient times, whole cultures grew and survived because of plants. History itself has been influenced by plants. Wars have been fought over plants and their products, and today the very future of the world depends on how we take care of our plants. That's why I'm traveling to England. It's here among the English country gardens and ivy-covered cottages we find one of the most important gardens in the world. It's called the Royal Botanic Gardens, Kew, one of the oldest botanical gardens on Earth, and it's home to a collection of a great many of the world's plants. Kew Gardens is located in the southwest part of London. You can reach the gardens quite easily by tube or train, or like me, a cabbie. The original gardens were just 9.5 acres in size. Today, after several land donations, it's spread across some 300 acres. More than 1 million people a year stroll through here, enjoying the sights and smells of the Botanic Gardens. But Kew is more than a pretty sight. There's an art gallery here. The history of the world is documented here at Evolution House. It's a seed bank preserving life on Earth for the future. And it's living forests, from tropical rainforests to the grasslands. It's here I met my guide.
This must be Mary.
This is Mary.
They said I could find you in the grass garden. I'm pleased to meet you. Beautiful. It must be the grass garden.
That's right. Couldn't be anything else.
The grass garden contains all kinds of primitive and present-day members of the grass family. The tall fuzzy one on the left is pampas grass. It has razor-sharp leaves that will easily cut your hands. Mary Fear Hall is a retired teacher. For the past 5 years, she's been spending her free time at Kew. She's a volunteer guide, a position she feels very privileged to have.
Yes,
a volunteer?
Yes.
That means no pay.
That means no pay.
Why do you do it?
Our payment might be said to be in kind, and the opportunity we get to learn so much and the training we're given.
What are you going to show me first, Mary?
Well, come this way.
Alrighty.
Our first stop was the Princess of Wales Conservatory, built in 1987. This glasshouse replaced 26 former glasshouses that were originally on this site. It's one of the larger buildings at Kew, just under 4,500 square meters, containing 10 different climatic zones. It houses everything from water lilies and bananas to orchids and ferns.
I enjoy the humidity. This is wonderful.
It's wonderful. The stillness of the atmosphere is tremendous.
The orchids would like this.
They will, yes. We shall go. You have to wait for the orchids.
Okay.
Because we're on the edge of the tropical fern zone here. And one of the things that people don't know very often about ferns, well, two things really. One is that you find them as epiphytes as well as terrestrial growing plants.
Like this one up here?
Like this one up here.
What do you tell your people about that when you come through?
Well, I explain to them what an epiphyte is, because a lot of people don't understand that, and they will confuse it also with if it grows on something, it must be a parasite.
It must be bad.
So we explain that epiphytes are not. They just get themselves an advantageous position in the forest to get the light, the moisture, and so on.
Great story.
And so we explain to them that this in the forest will get fed from falling moisture and detritus from the canopy of the forest. And then, as they're about to say to me, but what about in here? I say, well, we do occasionally feed it with a bit of compost.
Now, orchids, I think they're over here.
Orchids straight through.
Let's go see.
Yes, let's go.
I could smell an orchid a mile away.
You're an orchid buff.
Oh, very much so.
I shall be watching you very closely then. Keep your hands in your pockets.
Hands in my pockets, for sure. Oh, look.
Look up here.
You know, I've never seen that in bloom. What do the children think of this?
Well, everybody is quite wowed by it because the first thing to say is that we were quite wowed by it because it's actually been flowering since February of this year, non-stop. It is the vanilla orchid. And a lot of people don't know that vanilla actually comes from an orchid.
I think it comes in a little
And
bottle.
neither do they know about vanilla pods. So we try to tell them a bit. Now, you can see we've got pods here. So it's set seed. Yes.
Under glass.
And under glass,
That's
yes.
really quite
And it is, of course, a climbing, an epiphytic orchid, which means that it perches on something and then it will climb through the forest. It's a very, very important crop in Madagascar, which is such a poor, poor island. And we try and explain that to people, that it's grown in cultivation It's pollinated by hand.
Still?
Yes. And so that's a very good reason to encourage people to buy the pods.
Rather than the liquid vanilla?
Yes, yes.
As well as doing scientific work on the orchids, Kew provides a refuge to 123 orchid species that are endangered in their own natural environments.
Magnificent little specimen.
Isn't that lovely? Now this is a phragmipedium, and it is the first red phragmipedium that was found. And it was found in 1986 in the Peruvian Andes. And of course, as soon as it was known, the plant collectors rushed in and it was collected out. However, a little while later, it was found in Ecuador, and the Ecuadorians, having been warned, they got the army in to protect it. And the way in which Kew helped is with the collection of seed, the propagation of seed here, and then the repatriation of plants. And then the Kew's effort in this sort of area, because, as you know, orchids are very much sought after,
Yes,
is to try and get them into cultivation and preserve the wild stock.
About 20% of the world's orchid species are protected and preserved right here at Kew. One of the most spectacular plants found at Kew is the Titan arum.
Well, this is a fairly familiar looking plant from my plant books. My goodness, yes. I've never seen one quite as large.
It is spectacular, isn't it?
Now, this is probably one of the largest?
Yes, yes. It has the largest flower.
When it's in bloom, the flower of the Titan arum looks like this. This spherical-shaped center can weigh up to 50 kilos. It grows 10 inches a day, and it's the largest such structure known in the plant kingdom. It grows in Sumatra. Its smell is described as a mixture of rotting fish and burnt sugar. The Indonesians call it the corpse flower.
Last year, it actually flowered, and so this is what we had. And of course, it brought people in their hundreds.
And did they leave going, oh, it smells so bad?
Some of them were a bit disappointed it didn't smell as badly as they'd hoped.
The Temperate House has been built in stages since 1860. Today, it's the largest building at Kew, and it needs to be. Inside is the tallest tree at Kew. At 17 meters tall, it threatens to grow through this glass-top dome.
The Chilean wine palm.
What are you going to do when it hits the ceiling?
Well, I think we'll have a cracking good party because it'll have to come down.
I should say.
At least I should think it would have to come down because I don't think we'll have anywhere else to.
Now, how old is that palm?
Well, it came to Kew as seed in 1846. So that's 150 years.
A seed?
Yes.
Has it been moved around and transplanted?
Yes, it's had to be moved twice in here to give it more headroom.
Well,
and of course we get a good wine from the yes.
Hence the party.
So hence the party.
I see. You know,
so when it comes down, the wine will trickle out, or the sap, and they will ferment it, and we'll get this.
Well, hopefully I can make it. I can make it to the party. I should.
Or if you're teetotal, you can just have the honey.
Well, thank you so much. That has been wonderful, Mary. Great.
That's all right. It's been a delight.
I'd like to be here when that tree comes down.
Yes.
When we come back, the Victorian spinster who painted the plant world, a one-woman show at Kew. Walking through the gardens at Kew is very reminiscent of a gentler time. But then, that's what being among plants does to your spirit. It soothes you and allows you to enjoy the moment. Maybe that's what happened to Marian North. She was a wealthy Victorian woman who traveled the world, and at age 39 began to notice the plant world around her, because that's when she started to paint, and paint, and paint. 832 botanical paintings by Marian North are housed at the Kew Gallery. Inside the gallery, I saw a painting of the durian fruit from Malaysia, the mythical Nepenthes plant from the Cameron Highlands, and the Crinum northianum from Borneo. This flower was actually named after Marian North in recognition of her contribution to botany. She often completed her paintings in just one day. When she went to Brazil, she painted more than 100 paintings in just 8 months. Marian North had no formal training in painting, nor does she have a background in botany. But both artists and scientists agree her work is exceptional in its attention to color and to detail. Miss North died in 1890, and this gallery has remained exactly the same ever since. What hasn't remained the same, and changed drastically over millions and millions of years, is the Earth itself. Here at Kew, one of the newest buildings is home to the oldest story, Evolution House. Visitors are treated to a concise explanation on how plants evolved on Earth and how important that is to our basic survival. John Lonsdale is the technical director here.
But where are all the plants in this section? I was expecting to see all kinds of things.
We're way before plants. We're 4 billion years ago when you came through that door.
4 billion?
4 billion, 4,000 million years. And it's way before there's anything at all like a plant.
So what are you representing here behind me with all this
The
smoke?
Earth was impossible to survive on us in our terms at that time. So we're representing a very harsh landscape, a very unstable landscape. And we're using a sort of volcanic landscape to do that. It wasn't until the plants came along that things really started to calm down.
So there's no oxygen either? Nothing at all?
No oxygen, you couldn't breathe. And also, we're standing here, we're exposed to lethal levels of ultraviolet light.
We should move then.
We should move.
So how did we get oxygen? These little mud pie-looking things, they were formed by the cyanobacteria, which we used to call blue-green algae, and they produced oxygen.
They were very abundant, and very early, about 3 billion years ago these came along. They and the free-living algae in the seas would produce the oxygen which we're breathing today.
Our next big jump is the Silurian period. Now that's only about 4 million years ago compared to the 3 billion we just came out of. But I'm moving things along here for you. So, 4 million years ago, the first toddlers came out of the water.
And this little plant, Cooksonia, had to make that step of coming out onto land, finding a means of standing up and getting its food materials from the soil.
That's a very important leap in time.
Very important change,
So
yeah.
the plants learn to stand up.
They learn to stand up, they learn to cope with desiccation and with the previously hostile environment.
Now we jump ahead again and into a major change in the Earth's environment.
Well, at least I recognize some of these plants.
Yeah, you'll recognize these as tree ferns.
Yeah.
So we've got some plants now. We're in the Carboniferous period.
These?
Well, we want you to look at these. These are the giant club mosses. Now, these are very important in terms of the atmosphere today and a lot of current concern. These built up very quickly. They were very fast-growing plants. They grew in the swamps. The swamps stretched for hundreds of square miles, and we were in tropical conditions. So they grew quickly and then collapsed back into the swamp. Built up huge amounts of organic matter, which eventually became the coal, and that fired the Industrial Revolution.
The next stage is one we're all a little more familiar with, and that's the Jurassic period, the dinosaur age. Dinosaurs found lots to munch on during this period, like ground ferns and giant horsetails. This is also the age of the cycad.
Well, these are really plant dinosaurs in their own right, if you like.
Awesome.
These have come right through almost unchanged, but now they're getting to be quite threatened. They're quite limited in their range.
Evolutionary-wise, are they...
I suppose these are really coming to the end of their evolutionary life, if you like.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Now, did dinosaurs eat these?
Dinosaurs would have eaten these, yes, they would have grazed on the tops of the...
That's as I see his footprints marching down here towards his breakfast underneath this tree, I guess. We must be coming close to the flowering plants soon.
We are now with the flowering plants.
Aha!
The first few plant families have now come along. We're mid-Cretaceous, 100 million years ago, and you'll start to recognize just a few things in here. We've got peppers,
Right?
some early magnolias,
Right.
there's the laurel family, and the witch hazel.
All ancient families.
All ancient families have come right through to today.
Now tell me something, John. When you bring a group through, or you're, what are you hoping to get across?
I think probably the major aim is to show people that the plants, without the plants we can't be here. You've already seen that plants are created the breathable atmosphere. Plants are also the basis of the food chain. Everything starts to feed on plants, and then other things feed on them. So we're trying to tell the story and make people realise that without one, there's not another. There's a whole interconnected network.
Wonderful. Well, you tell the story very well. I certainly
Well, we
enjoyed
hope so.
myself. Thank you very kindly. That
was great.
A great trip through time.
Very pleased you like it.
Great.
When we come back, the future of our world, frozen in time. For more than 200 years, explorers, plant enthusiasts, and seed collectors have traveled the world bringing botanical specimens back to Kew. Every year, about 45,000 new specimens arrive here, some for scientific study, some for the gardens, and many for preservation. Kew is also home to the World Seed Bank, the largest collection of wild seeds in the world. The World Seed Bank at Kew is located at Wakehurst Place, a few miles out of London in the rolling hills of West Sussex. This Tudor-style mansion was built in 1590. It's here Kew plans to undertake one of their biggest projects in the history of botany,
up to the year 2000, we're collecting all the storable seeds of the British flora. I mean, it's a very high proportion. And we're going to collect them and put them in our seed bank. So, I mean, we can't go asking other people to collaborate with us and telling people that they should be storing seeds and conserving that way without we've done it for our own flora.
John Dickey is a senior scientist working at the seed bank, and he's involved in the big project, the Millennium Seed Bank project. The plan is to collect the seeds of all the flowering plants in Britain and 10% of the world's flora by the year 2010.
The goals of the seed bank are to collect seeds of wild species, to conserve them for long periods, and by long we anticipate that the vast majority of what we deal with will live for hundreds of years, and a lot of it probably thousands.
And so why do we want all these seeds? Scientists predict that 25% of the world's flowering plants could become extinct within the next 50 years.
There are very powerful reasons for wanting to conserve those species. The two major ones. One is just there's a moral imperative. We should leave the world as we found it. You know, we shouldn't leave it any poorer for future generations. And secondly, more sort of enlightened self-interest. The plants which may or may not become extinct may contain traits, characteristics that we might not have found useful up to now, but may be useful in the future, and we've once extinctions forever.
It's estimated there are 250,000 species of flowering plants in the world. So far, Kew has about 4,000 of them currently in storage at the seed bank.
How are the seeds actually collected then? Well, the seeds are collected both by our collectors and ultimately by partner countries' collectors. Sometimes we'll have joint expeditions. Up to now it's been joint expeditions or our own collectors going, but in future some of the places will be doing it for themselves.
Some of the world's dry lands are the most endangered environments on Earth. The seeds are collected in the wild and then sent to Wakehurst as soon as possible so that they may be dried out properly. Technical assistants like Stephanie Miles will conduct a number of tests on the seeds to be sure they're seeds worth storing. Here she filters out the extraneous material. Drying them gets them ready for storage. Cold storage, about minus 20 degrees Celsius. Stephanie agreed to show me where Kew keeps just 2% of the world's wild flora seeds.
The hat's too small.
Oh, that's delightful.
My head's too big, rather.
Now you do all this just every day to go and check on the seeds?
Yes, we get seeds out to do germination testing and things like that. So we have to we do on average once a day, yeah.
All right. Can I do it?
Yep, pull.
Uh-oh.
The first room behind the freezer doors is the drying room.
When seeds, all the moisture is taken out of the seed and it's put into a minus 20 room. When it does freeze, the water doesn't expand and crack the seed and destroy it.
Makes sense, because then it wouldn't
Yes,
be good.
yeah.
The ominous signs there, I think we're pretty well ready. I feel like a sort of Dr. Michelin here.
I know, you do get used to it.
Yeah? So
Yeah.
every day you have to come and check?
Yes, that's right. You have to, well, we come in and we take a few collections out that we do germination tests on, so make sure they're still viable. Every 10 years, the seeds are retested. Oh. So, you know, we're not storing a lot of dead seed. We know we're not storing a lot of dead seeds.
Because you've already checked them with x-rays first.
That's right.
All right, this is something really cold for you.
Yeah, it's very cold. Ooh, it's quite refreshing.
There's a bit of a wind, too.
Yes, that's right.
Oh, this is amazing. It's like someone's pickle larder.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so, these are all our large collections of large seeds. They're kept in these big parfait jars.
What's that?
Yeah, that's. I'm not actually sure what that is.
Oh, they're just numbered, of course.
Yeah, they're just numbered. So offhand, I don't know what it is.
Some of it looks like. Wow, this is just amazing. The whole notion that they're staying here for several hundred years, I think that's just remarkable.
Yes, yeah, and staying viable as well.
Once the seeds are safely stored in the freezer, the work continues. Research scientists like Dr. Gillian Weschberg are busy cataloging the new specimens. She'll make sure the leaves, stems, and flowers are dried and stored properly on herbarium charts. The collections are fully documented because these collections are useless to anybody without they know exactly what they are. So we're a very one of the world's premier
institutes for plant systematics, so if we can't get a thing named, then it's a pretty poor show. So they've got to be named, there lots of details of the place where they're collected, because that matters to people who might want to use them.
Many of the seeds stored in this bank are already severely endangered in the wild. The seed bank is used regularly by scientists and researchers around the world. Every day, Kew gets 3 to 4 requests for seeds to help solve environmental problems in other countries.
Here, actually.
What are these? This is kind of... Can I pick in here?
Yeah, help yourself.
It's
You have a
tiny.
look through. Yeah, they're just small collections. People doing research on species and things like that, they store them up in here.
Does size make a difference? Like, are larger seeds easier to store in here than the tiny ones, or does it make any difference?
No, I don't think it doesn't make any difference.
Just
no.
the way they're in their containers.
Yeah.
You know, I think the driveway's shoveled. It's
You
time to
think
get
so?
out.
Okay.
I hope you know the way. Or is there a code we have to...
No,
know?
we're all right.
We're okay?
I haven't forgotten the code. We can...
This project brings a connotation of nuclear holocaust. You're preparing for a nuclear holocaust in some sort of way. Is that close to reality, do you think, or is it?
I don't think that nuclear holocaust is primarily what we're storing these seeds against. It's more insidious things. It's the gradual erosion of habitats and vegetation leading to extinctions. It's not the bang, it's the whimper.
Soon a new building will go up here at Wakehurst to house the expanded seed bank. The entire project, from collection to preservation, is estimated to cost between 75 and 80 million pounds sterling, which is cheap when you consider it's the world they're trying to save. I've been quite impressed during my 2 days at Kew. I mean, we know how important plants are to our existence, but here they're doing something about it. Volunteers like Mary, who enjoy teaching strangers about plants. To Evolution House, where we learned how plants gave us oxygen that allowed the world to flourish in the first place. To the seed bank and the Millennium Seed Project. I have this feeling I've been to a very special garden in the world because it's dedicated to preserving the most important garden of all, the Earth's garden. I'm Ken Beattie. Join me next time as our journey continues.